What's up, everyone? It's your lady Amy the Seventh with another episode of Pretty Woman Speaks, and of course, I have one of the prettiest women in my life, Miss Della, aka my auntie, and she's gracing our presence tonight, and I'm really glad to have her on. To me, she's one of the women that really flourish in establishing relationships with younger women. And sometimes I do feel like there is a gap between younger women, older women having that bonding. But I've never had that issues from the moment I met her on the hospital bed in my house when I came home. I actually met her for the first time. Now she's been in the family forever in the day, but I had to move to Memphis, get into a car accident, almost dying, and then I meet her. So
Yes.
and so I met her, and she brought me this scrumptious lemon cupcake for my 31st birthday. It really cheered me up because my mom was teasing me last night about I was the girl in the window last year, and then this year I can barely sit down because I'm just zooming. And but one of the women that I really give my hats off to that really helped coin my, re-image my mind in a way that I could move forward was her. And I really want to talk to her about new beginnings after tragedies. My auntie, she's also a person that's all too familiar with rebranding herself. After life give you things that, like she was just saying before we got on, you got to bob and weave life, right? You got to get a gold medal, a boxing glove, when it comes to life. So auntie, I really want to talk to you about, why do you think before we get into it, why is it so important to have more than one new beginning in life?
Well, for me, it seems like as long as you are evolving, you are evolving because when you stop living. And even though adversities come about, it's not to kill you, it's to make you stronger because they've always said what doesn't kill you will make you stronger. So, with that being said, it's not so much as to break you down and to destroy you, but it's to really to just build you up and to let you know that in spite of your adversities, you can live, you can flourish, and you can have a beautiful life. That's my philosophy.
A simple philosophy, but it's like when it comes to applying it, that's when hardships happen. I remember one time she was driving my mother and I, because we had a lot of issues with my recovery period. And I'm just laughing and talking, and then she looks over at me, and I'm just boo-hooing, crying. I mean, big tears and stuff. And so she wanted to know why I was crying, and I was crying because I just felt like this was a forever thing. Me not walking, me losing my job, me losing my independence. I just felt like it was a forever thing, and she just had like such a pep talk with a threat, okay? Because with my auntie, she'll do a great job pepping you up, but then she's gonna threaten you because she doesn't want you to stay in that state.
Yeah, and that's true. That is true. You have to realize that for me, with some of the things that have happened in life, if you stay there, you're going to lose yourself. And you've already lost yourself with what the obstacle that you already have encountered. So, with that being said, you have to tell yourself and your mind, okay, this is just temporary. What you see isn't the outcome. I do remember when, right after I had got my hand hurt, I actually lost one of my joints on my hand, and it was on my left hand. Thank God, because I am right handed. So even with the adversity, it didn't happen to the hand that I used to write, my predominant hand. So that was a plus within itself. And along the way, it was like, yeah, I suffered some. times when, yeah, my mental state was like, oh, woe is me, this, that, and the other. But it was this one particular day when I was in the doctor's office, and they had just unwrapped my hand, and I looked at it, and it was twice the size. It had pins in it, stitches, and all of that, and I could literally feel myself losing it right then and there. But at the same time, God stepped in, and He said, "Why? What are you doing? This is just temporary. What you see is not the outcome. You just looking at it for what it is. Get a grip. You can handle this." And that's when I started to take on a positive role and say, okay, whatever it is, I'll get through it. Yeah, I went through a point where I felt like I couldn't, because I used to play softball. That was my love. And I didn't think I could hold a bat. I didn't think I could even braid hair anymore. But as life and time went on, I started to practice and I started to try. And the more I practiced and the more I tried, the more I got to be better at it. Well, just as good as I was even before I lost it, to be honest with you. So you have to persevere, but you have to really stay focused. And the main thing is pray and have good supportive people around you, because there are going to be times it's not easy now, not at all, but there will be times. But as long as you've got good supportive people and your belief and faith in God, you can accomplish a lot. And that was one of the things that really helped me as far as working through that part of my life. And that happened in 88. And right behind that, God blessed me with a daughter. I didn't even think I could, it was, and that was a blessing within itself. So I was just grateful. I couldn't stay there.
Auntie, do you mind if we see your hand? Wow. Yeah. To be able to overcome that,
Yeah.
it just speaks volumes, because you're used to yourself in one way, in one aspect, and then when that changes, it does something to you. Like you said, mentally there were days that they were really long and they were really dark, because for me, when the cast came off and I really got a good look at my new self and my new body, I was stuck. I really was. And really, it probably, part of it was vanity, because
Mhm.
I'm used to myself not having these marks on myself. And
Mhm.
so now, getting past the point of not feeling like you're damaged
Yeah.
anymore. Because society makes you feel like that when you have these unique marks and circumstances that happen to you, then you're now damaged. And that can in return lead to you staying stuck, which I was there until I got threatened.
But see, that was the reality of me knowing and realizing what could happen, because even through what I was going through, I found myself when I was going to physical therapy, you know, I found myself laughing and talking, and my therapist herself, she asked me one day, she said, "Do you mind talking to this lady?" She said, "Because she's having a real hard time." And I talked to her. And as a matter of fact, we started communicating because, you know, even though I know that I was going through, I was willing to try to help someone else. And even though sometimes it was hard for me, I knew that I could get through it. And that's where your faith kicks in. And once again, like I said, as long as you've got supportive people that can help you in spite of, because there were days where, when you say, you even want to try to wash yourself, it was difficult. So, you have to look at that, and then you have to realize that, okay, you find a way to work through it, then you turn around and you try to help someone else find a way to work through it. Because Everybody has a way of doing things, but we have to learn, and we're here to help one another. So that was my thing. If I can help you, I'm more than willing to do so.
So, that's, and I'm really glad that I mean, she's a big helper. And a part of healing is what I'm understanding with her is extending yourself to someone else
Yeah.
during that process. And but Auntie, I'm really curious about, because you talk about, extending yourself to other people to help them heal, laughing about it, being grateful, that where the incident happened, it was not going to affect you for your life, your livelihood. But Auntie, what I really want to talk about is, how do we get to a point in our life where we can be grateful about things that really hurt us? How do we be grateful for pain and accidents?
Now, that's a good, hard question. If I have to say it like that, that's a good, hard question. What has helped me is, once again, prayer. And I've always was taught, and I learned along the way, the glass is not half empty, it's half full. It's always at how you look at it. And then even when you look at it, the reality is that there is still someone that's in a worse shape than you. Always. And it doesn't matter what you're going through. There is someone that is, and at times he shows you. He'll put you in positions to where you can see for yourself that there's someone else that is worse than you. I give you, for instance, it was this one day, and I was going, oh, woe is me, my hand. I didn't want to show my hand. I was really, ashamed. That's the word I would use. I was ashamed of my hand. But it was this one particular day that I was riding, and I was going to go to the car wash and wash the car. And this is what I mean by when God shows you that there are others that are in a worse, and I don't mean a bad shape, but their predicament is worse than what you're dealing with. And I literally saw this man who didn't really even have, his arms were short, and he was driving a yellow Cadillac, of all things, a yellow Cadillac. And he pulled in to get his car washed. And when he got out of the vehicle, I saw his arms were shorter, and I was like, and here he is kicking it, driving his yellow Cadillac with his little money pouch on his waist, and having and enjoying life. And I looked at myself and I said, what you got to cry about? Why are you worried? Look at this. So that's what I mean by when he has to show us sometimes that you ain't got a problem. And even though, yes, it is a problem, but when you look at someone else who is what you consider as in a worse shape than you, then you say, okay, if he can do that, then I should be able to do this. And that's how it started to develop with me. And that's when I believe that there were times when I was able to even tell other people about what I was going through, share my experience with them, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that's what helped.
Now, I know you've said multiple times prayer helped you in finding gratitude in your pain. What does that prayer look like? What does it sound like? Can you give us a sample of what type of prayer that you would pray to gain gratitude and understanding and wisdom in what happened to you?
Well, prayer is no more than communication with God, just as like I'm communicating with you.
Okay.
It's no different. So if I come to you and I say, Tasia, I need $200. And this is just an example of what I'm saying, I'm just throwing something. And if you believe, and that's the first thing, is you got to have faith in that, okay, Tasia may come through, Tasia may not. But if Tasia doesn't come through, that doesn't mean that Tasia won't come through. And it's the same thing as it is with God. It's just a relationship. And when you find yourself in predicaments, and I'm not just gonna say predicaments, it's a conversation that you should have on a regular basis. But when you find yourself in adversities, that's when I have talked to him just like I'm talking to you now. You know my situation. You know what I need. You know my heart desires. You know my mindset. You know just as good as I'm talking to you right now that I'm subject to do something I know that I shouldn't do. But I know that you can and I know that you will. And if you don't, then I know that you still have my best because the reality is that if it doesn't happen then doesn't mean that it's not supposed to happen. It just means that there may be some more that you may have to go through. We may not even be mature enough to even handle it. So
Okay.
sometimes we have to be grown.
Patience, okay?
Yeah.
Patience in your heart, in your season of wanting. You can't harvest before the fruit or before the corn is ready. It's
E- Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
it,
Everything has to be nurtured.
everything does, and I think we spend a lot of time wanting to fast forward through the nurturing period because
Mhm.
nurturing requires discipline, and you have to be in the mind frame that you want this to grow, you want this to work, and that takes dedication. And dedication takes time, and a lot of people don't want to put their time and energy in something that they can't see overnight.
This is true. But that's where life shows you again. You know, yeah, just because you want it now doesn't mean that you're ready for it now. But that's where you have to know yourself too. You know, you have to know that you've gone through enough to see that if it doesn't happen right now, it doesn't mean that it won't. I just got a little bit more growing that I got to do so that I can handle what what's getting ready to happen for me and to me. Even
Okay.
like when I went through with the ordeal with my hand, my my thought process was nowhere near thinking that I would be where I am now, to be honest with you, because I I saw it as a handicap. I saw it as something that was going to keep me held and bound. But once again, like I said, he started to show me things and he started to help me understand your life hadn't ended. This is not the end. Really, you're just now starting to begin. So embrace it. Don't look at it as like a downfall or a backset. Embrace it. And once I embraced it for what it was and accepted me for who I am now and not who I was, I was fine. I was better. And I got to the point where I started, using my middle finger, you know, the other way to make a joke about it. Because, it wasn't nothing for me to, start a conversation with somebody and they say something funny. And I said, can you get a half? You know, I'm just saying, so you have to learn to smile even in the rain and laugh even in the rain and sometimes even dance. So,
This is what I love about you is that you've learned how to turn lemons into lemonade. And I know that's just so cliche, but I mean, there are so many people sitting around with pots of lemons and upset, but not knowing just that what do they have in front of them that could turn into something fabulous. And when you said embracing your changes in your uniqueness, my grandma always say all the time that people will be a lot further along if they did that sooner than later. because she said a lot of people be like, they're complaining about their feet and their hands, and she'd be like, these are the only feet and hands you're gonna get. So if you don't like it, so be it. These are my feet and hands, and this is all I'm gonna get. So, just embrace whatever it is
Yes,
early on, because no one can take from you when you've already added plenty to yourself.
exactly. And you got to remember, we all are different. We all are. We all have different personalities. God didn't intend for us all to be the same. He made us different, but He made us to where we should blend with one another, and to help one another. Does it happen? No. Should it happen? Yes. But it depends upon the individuals,
Mm-hmm.
first of all. But the main thing is, like I say, love yourself first. Embrace who you are and know who you are. And to tell you the truth, that's a daily thing. And especially for us women. Because and I know that we go through some changes.
Don't we? We
Okay.
definitely do. We're definitely like the moon,
Okay.
cycling. And but auntie, what really sticks out to me was that you say you have to learn to love yourself. And by the way, she's coming up on her 18th wedding anniversary. And
Yeah.
what I love about this is that what I'm hearing from Auntie is that in order to find love outside of yourself, you first have to give it to yourself. Because my auntie and Uncle Jerry, their relationship, I absolutely love them. It just seems so unforced. Like this is just true love between both of them. And but Auntie, I really want to talk about for women out here who are wanting to find love, but they too are feeling they have pain. Maybe they've been injured, maybe they've been damaged, and they don't feel worthy enough for that opportunity. Walk me through how do what would you say to young women who want that but don't feel deserving?
One thing that I realize is that you got to be you. And as it would say, don't fake the funk. Just be you, you know, because at the end of the day, that's who they're going to accept. And if you're you, then, and they'll see it, they'll know it. Because to be honest with you, when me and your uncle got together, I didn't see what he saw. I was just looking at it as like, okay, yeah, we done met, we can hang out, we can do this, blah, blah, blah. You know, I wasn't looking for anything. I was cool with me. I enjoyed me. And I just went with the flow. And somewhere along the line, he started, and then the next thing I know, he was talking about marriage. And all I did was just be me, you know. And when you're you, and whatever God has in store for you, it's yours. And the one thing that I did learn about life too is that don't put no timetable on your life, because you think that at 30 this is where I should be. At 29 this is where I should be. You know, things doesn't always happen that way. But the main thing that I took away from it is that I was me. I was loving me. I was enjoying me. He saw something that I didn't see, and we blended. But I'm not gonna say it cost us anything, but what it did was it had us to understand one another. It's give and take now, but it's life, and you have to be willing to want to be open and learn and accept your shortcomings, because nobody's perfect now. You know, I'm just saying, nobody's perfect. We all got some shortcomings. So that's what really helped me. And like I said, I believe that that's what he saw. And like I said, we're coming up on 18 years of marriage, come the 29th of October. And this is not something that I thought that I would be doing, but I'm grateful and I love him.
See, so there are several things that I want to kind of drill in on. One, Auntie said she wasn't studying anybody. She wasn't worried about nobody. She wasn't checking for nobody. She was all right in her space. So essentially, she was Ruth, and Boaz spot her. My uncle was Boaz, and he saw her out there because she was worried about herself. That was one. Two, I know my uncle was a Boaz again because he had a vision, right? Because he already foresaw her taking on his last name as his wife. So those are two things that really stuck out to me, and I really want women who are wanting to have this new beginning, because this is what this whole episode is about, is just new beginning. Of course, part of new beginning is finding love. Now, whether that is love in a partner or love within yourself, love in something that you want to do, whatever that case may be, it needs to start with, like Auntie said, you not worried about nothing but yourself.
Yeah.
And then two, you meet someone that applies the pressure, because Auntie said apply pressure.
Okay.
He had let her know what was up,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
he went for it.
Yeah. Because I was the one that was questioning it. And I was like, "Are you sure?" I asked him twice, "Are you sure?" And he was like, "Yeah, I know. I know." I said, "Okay." And after that, my next step was I prayed and I asked God. And I asked him, and I no, well, yeah, I'm gonna say I asked him. But no, I went to him boldly, to be honest with you. And I said, "Now look at here, God. Now, if this is what you want for me, I want it also. But if this is not what you want, then I will follow your calling." And I said, "Now, if this is what you want, you got to show me, and you got to let me know that this is what I need to do and where I need to be." Because you go into things and you think in one way, but when you get into something, it could be a whole different ball game. And if you're not grounded, it won't last.
That's
So
so
for
true.
me, for me, by me, and I asked him, he gave me a sign, and I accepted that sign, but I in turn asked him for another sign. I did. I asked him twice. And after the second sign, I said, "Okay, God, I know you've ordained it. I'm going to follow your lead. Because irregardless of what may happen, you've ordained it and we'll be able to handle it." And so far, so good.
I don't know. Look, Auntie, I'll say this: my generation, we're notorious for saying that prayer. God, if this person isn't for me, you know, remove them from our lives, or whatever the case may be. We say these prayers, and then next thing you know, we got an argument. We fell out, and now we don't even talk anymore. And it's like a lot of people in our generation say that's a prayer we carefully pray, because we don't know if quite yet we want God to get rid of them, because we know that that type of situation easily would drop like flies, because it doesn't take much for us to not like each other. It's like insanity to me how you can like someone, y'all locked in, and then 2 seconds later, y'all don't like each other, y'all don't speak, y'all don't see each other. And I understand the prayer, Auntie, but it's like, geez, as soon as you pray it, this person gone. So if you're gonna say this prayer, y'all, just be prepared that this person may not be here.
And that's true. And honestly, that is the truth. You know, and you have to see it, but that's where your faith comes into play at. Because I also was in a relationship that didn't turn out too well. And this was prior to my marriage. But when I look back on it, I realized that I didn't go into it the right way. And then it was certain things that I accepted that shouldn't have been accepted. So that told me that I really didn't know who I was. And once things went the way that it did, you know, um, Did I regret it? No, because it was more of a headache and it was more of a heartache than anything else, to be honest with you. But once I realized what it was and that this is not the way that I want to live the rest of my life, and this is not what that it was needed for me, and I said, okay, when I said be gone, it was gone.
See,
and and I'm grateful that I didn't look back,
see,
you know.
but you also have to be okay with those people leaving. Right, you have to be okay with being alone, with being by yourself. And what I keep hearing from my auntie was that she was locked in with her. So whether
Yeah.
or not, this worked out or not, she was content within her own confines of herself. And that's not
Yeah.
an easy thing to be with if you're not totally, about yourself.
You realize that there was a time when I went through a phase where I was alone and lonely. I was alone and content. I was alone and I was happy. So I've seen the stages and I know what all of it can do for you. And once I realized that the common denominator in all of that was me, and what did I choose to do? How did I choose to do it? And when you've experienced alone and loneliness to the point where it's, oh, woe is me, why am I like this, why is this, and then you dissect your own self, and then you realize that this is who God made me. I've got to accept who I am first. And once I got to know that for what it was and what it was worth, that's what helped me.
And I will note this one thing that's really helped me with the being alone, because I've been alone for quite some time. But what really helped me about the whole thing was understanding that sometimes you are God's buried treasure. And not anyone can just find buried treasure. Buried treasure, a person has to find a map, and then they have to be able to read a map. And I think a lot of people want someone who does not one take the time out to find you, right? Because you can be with someone, but do they see you? You know, um, and then two, do they have the energy and the time to be about you, to come find you? And then three, will they protect you because you are treasure, right? So or are they going to find a way to sell you out because, right, because you're a treasure, but you're worth more out in the world than next to their heart. And so, these are things that really help me because I just been like, I'm just God's buried treasure.
Yeah,
They ain't found this treasure, this treasure
that's right.
box yet. So this just kind of how I think about life, whether or not it's just me being in denial.
Being in denial, though, because that's where your patience is going to come into play at, you know. And everything, like I said, is not just meant for right now. You know, I even look at, me. I didn't get married till I was 45. And like I said, I wasn't even looking for it then. And I had become settled. And when I mean settled, I was good with me. I had settled with me to be able to say, okay, if this is how I'm gonna live my life, then I'm cool, and we're gonna make it work. But when I look back, I realized that if I had done it before then, who's to say how it would have turned out? You know, to me, I think I was more settled then. Not to say I'm not now, but a little bit more settled to where whatever that we may have to go through or had to go through, we were more mature. That's the word I want to use right there. We were more mature to be able to handle it and to understand the magnitude of it and not argue or let it tear us apart. Let me say it like that, if that makes any sense.
No, no, that makes perfect sense because what you said in the beginning is that first you have to be ready for the season or whatever it is that you're asking for. And many of times we ask for $1 million, but are we able to manage $1 million? You know that's the question in itself. And then also as part of me is not wanting to gain understanding of why are we going through this period in our life, because whatever it is something in this period that God wants you to understand to use for the next season in life. And so it's just so many things that goes into new beginnings. um
It
but
is.
but if there was the number one thing that you would say for people who are in the new beginning or looking for a new beginning, what would you say to them?
Huh. First thing first, pray, seek God. And I know that I said that more than once, but it's the truth. You have to seek Him first, because once you do that, He will guide you. And yeah, we're hard headed. And I'll raise my hand to be the first one that say that, okay, yeah, I've been led in certain directions and I have not followed them. And I have regretted. But when you follow God's plan, try to do things decent and in order, and your intentions are not to hurt, He'll show you. And then He'll lead you to where you're renewing. Not only is it just for you, is for someone else, because I never would have thought that here I am trying to help someone else through a podcast. I'm just being honest here. I never would have thought that I would be sitting down doing this, you know. But I have learned that we never know why God has taken us through what He's taken us through. But I've learned now that it wasn't just for me. It was for me to help someone else to know that you can make it also. Just like I became renewed, you can also through what I'm saying to you. And not just through what I'm saying to you, but knowing that if you persevere with patience and keep God, you can make
Cue that Marvin Sapp. Never would have made it.
what he just said, okay? Without you. Exactly. Exactly. And that's the truth. Never would have made it. Never. Because, even with your downs, He brings you up. He does. You know,
Amen. I'm definitely, she and I are both living testimonies
exactly.
on that.
Yes. Because it wasn't meant to kill you. And a lot of times, to tell you the truth, I had to look at it as that, He may had need to slow me down a little bit. Because I probably could have gotten out of control. And who knows where my life would have been if He hadn't slowed me down. He didn't take me away. He just took a little bit away to just let me know, hey, okay, you might need to back up a little bit.
Mm.
So there are reasons for a lot of things in life, but let's not question them too much. Just know that, okay, thank God we lived through it and we're still here, and we in turn can try to help somebody else. That's the way I look at it.
Well, everyone, that is my auntie Della. I really hope that you all have gathered all of the gems that she's had for us. I mean, she really spoke a lot. And of course, like I said, she was one of the women that helped me get up, literally. And so, whoever is in your life, if you have those people in your life that can help you get up, that can help you think anew, make sure you send them their roses, give them their roses all the time because they're more than enough deserving of it. But as I said, this is Amy the Seventh, another episode of Pretty Woman Speaks. I air each and every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can find links to all my streaming platforms at tayharborstudios.com /Amy the Seventh. You can catch me on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google. Of course, I'm here every Monday night. Be sure to like and follow me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Peace and love, everyone.